Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host, Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Dangerous, but more importantly, as always, you can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. But wait, there's more. That's not all, folks. We have two amazing co-hosts joining us. First and foremost, the man who never lets us down, always there for us when we ask, comes through in the clutch. You can find him on social media at MLS Gamut. It's Beau. Beau, hello. Good evening.
What's going on, man? I was not expecting my name to be called on that one. I thought that was teed up for Gavin. Are you sure you read the right one?
I've got the notes right here. I'll just note that you were uncertain about being on the podcast and you made an effort to be here. And for that, greatly appreciated.
Very happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, equally happy to be here is the man who wishes that he weren't here. You can find him on social media at LionsBlog1. It's Gavin. Gavin, good to speak with you for like the third time today.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. I knew you weren't teeing that one up for me, considering I wasn't even late. I gave you a heads up that I was going to be 10 minutes late, but you just didn't read the text message. So I am reliable.
Read the text message. Once I read it, I actively said that was unacceptable.
Yes, you did. So my apologies, food, dinner, things of that nature. Important.
For the record, I too needed to eat, but I doubled down on carbs. I had liquid carbs right here in a can, and then I had actual carbs via a slice of cake, and I was sitting here ready to record at 9 o'clock.
Proud of you. It wasn't necessary, but I'm proud of you.
If Samuel Adams is looking to sponsor a podcast, we will entertain offers.
Yeah, we would absolutely entertain offers, and I'll tell you right now, I would only accept payment in cases of cold snap. So,
and Russell will rename his cat Samuel Adams as well.
Yeah, I will get a second cat, and I'll just name him, Sam the cat, or Adams, or I'll get two cats, name one Samuel and one Adams. Except this cat is now trying to eat my leftovers of the cake, so I may be looking to get two new cats very soon if this guy, is not put under control.
What a guy.
Guys, enough about the cats, enough about Sam Adams. Well, begrudgingly enough about Sam Adams. We've got to talk about some soccer. Okay. And I know this may come as a shock, but there were, in fact, MLS matches over this weekend. But here's the thing. I think while the matches were exciting, I think we now have enough of a sample size that I want to talk about not just these matches, I want to talk about the teams as a whole. So maybe just before we go into that topic, high-level thoughts, give me a stock rising and a stock falling on the teams from the weekend, no repeats, and I will let Beau go first as our guest of honor.
Oh boy, I did not know.
This might be less of an honor and more of a nightmare for you, Beau, being put on the spot like this.
Okay, stock rising, stock falling. I mean, just based on this weekend's games, is that what the?
Yep, just this weekend's games.
Okay. Sporting KC, how they just continue to not be able to put the ball in the back of the net. Look, losing to LAFC, I get it, but not being able to do it consistently is just, and not making a coaching change. Stock rising, this is tough. I really want to put Real Salt Lake because I was very impressed with what I saw from them this weekend, but I'm going to go Chicago Fire. Vancouver Whitecaps have been amazing all season long, and Chicago beat them 3-1. And Chicago has just continued to improve, which shouldn't be a shock under Greg Berhalter. But yeah, stock rising, Chicago / Real Salt Lake, stock down, team led by Peter Vermees.
Fair enough. Gavin, what about you? What you got lined up for us?
I do want to shout out on the Vancouver side of things. As you know, Beau, they were undermanned with the international break, like a lot of these teams were. Just felt like they were hit a little bit harder with their key players versus Chicago. But I think it's still a good call. Chicago played well, in my opinion. Okay, stock up. Whew. There were a couple ones that I'm looking at, and I'm thinking I'm going to go with Nashville. I took Russell's. I took Russell's. So, reason being, I was doing some of my research before the episode.
I
This
should have
is
gone first.
this is 3 wins in a row for Nashville. Do you guys know the last time in MLS Nashville had 3 wins in a row?
It had to have been from their inaugural season.
Not quite that far back. Nashville finished pretty high up in the rankings previously.
Yeah, but 3 wins in a row?
Probably the year Mukhtar won MVP. Was that 22, 21?
They won 4 in a row from May to June 2023. So they went a full season and a half without winning 3 games in a row, which isn't an easy feat, but still. You want to be able to do it at least once a season, I think. So Nashville getting 3 wins in a row. They did face a terrible CF Montreal, who continue to show how terrible they are and that they are lacking direction, obviously, with the news today that Courtois has been sacked. We'll probably get into that in a little bit. Stock down, San Jose Earthquakes. I think that one's obvious. I think they looked terrible against Charlotte and they got overrun. Their pressing looked all out of whack. The defensive line was too high too early, and they were caught running backwards so many times, and Charlotte just killed them in transition, and it was 4 goals before they knew it. And even with the red card that Charlotte got, I mean, the game was over. San Jose didn't put up much of a fight. So, yeah, great, great game by Charlotte, and San Jose just didn't have that same clinicality, essentially. So I'm a little bit down on San Jose after a good start to the season from them.
Yeah, they gave us all the hope in the world to start the season. And Gavin, I'm gonna take your vibes. I'm gonna go straight into St. Louis on my stock down. St. Louis had on paper a great last summer. They had a few other moves, but mainly they had an off season to cement a coaching change and to cement a new identity. And now they've kind of been a low scoring team that, yes, they aren't really conceding any goals, but where are they going as a team is my big question. And I don't think they have a lot of answers as to what sort of identity and how they're going to get there. And I would have expected more from a team that really claimed to have done all their hard work last summer with an entire offseason to gel and have those players already there. Yeah, honorable shout out for another stock falling, just the ownership group specifically for CF Montreal.
Their
Just
stock
saying.
is already in the gutter,
Yeah.
though. Like, I
Their
don't know
stock,
how.
it cannot have gone much lower, and yet we found a way to send it down. But again, honorable mention for that
Did
one,
you
just
see
because
the?
it's
Did you see Tom Bogert's tweet on? Tom Bogert found and tweeted they have spent $0 on DPs in transfer fees since 2014.
it-
That's an
not a good
insane.
ownership group.
That's an insane find, and that is an insane fact. That is terrible.
Equally, I found impressive was that Courtois managed 39 games for the Montreal Impact, and that puts him in the top half of longest tenured coaches in Impact history. 39 games.
That is Montreal are making waves on those stats in all the wrong way.
Saputo out.
Yeah. On the stock rising side, Gavin, I'm going to go ahead and compliment another one of your picks on this one and take Charlotte as a stock rising, because I think in general, we were pretty positive on Charlotte going into the season, but I don't think any of us were this positive seeing,
Whoa, 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 whoa. Any
okay,
of us. Hold on.
most of us
Hold
were
on.
not this positive.
I mean, I did have them at second. That still may be a little reach, but I'm feeling pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, you're looking like a genius right now
make
because
sure
yeah,
that my
I mean,
wife hears that part.
yeah, we'll play this part over and over on the podcast. Just loop it, okay? You find this part and I'll clip it for you and
Now it is
I'll send
March.
it to
Come
you.
come September, this may
Yeah,
not age well, but I'll take the win.
right. Oh yeah, and I think that's the big caveat. It's the big asterisk footnote. See see sources. Additional citation needed. Whatever you want to put on it. This is 5 matches in, so there's still a good bit of time for things to change.
And also international break, right? But
Yeah, and also international break. That's fair.
yeah.
So, anyways, okay, that out of the way, guys. Let's talk about some other things now that we've seen a little bit more of the players. We've seen a little bit more of the teams. Gavin, I know you had another fun activity for us as well. Do you want to start with your activity, or do we want to start with my activity?
Let's start with yours. And then we'll finish out with
Okay.
mine.
Okay. All right. So, gents, it's been 5 weeks. We haven't done one of these yet. So, it's time for a tier maker. I got 5 categories. Okay. We're going to place each of our 30 teams. It's got to be by consensus, mind you. We're going to place the teams. I got 5 categories on how good you're feeling. What's the vibes on a scale of feeling cool, cooler than being cool, ice cold, right? Or at the very bottom, you're hitting, the panic button, the panic at the disco button. I went with a lot of pop culture references for these titles. So, cooler than being cool. We have Michael Bublé. You're feeling good. We're throwing a Futurama reference in there. In the middle, you're just living on the neutral planet. Everything's gray. You have no opinions one way or the other. You got the meme of the guy like sweating bullets, right? You're starting to sweat. And then finally the panic at the disco button. So that is where we are sitting on all the teams. We're just gonna, fly through them. I'm gonna assign them to people as we go along, and if anyone disagrees with where they're placed, speak now or forever hold your peace. But I think otherwise we'll be doing this for like 5 days. So we're gonna just start off alphabetically with Atlanta, and we're gonna start alphabetically with Beau. Beau, where are you putting Atlanta?
Russell, what? Hold on, Russell. Can you share your screen so we can see
Uh,
the different
okay, listen, I
tiers?
I could do that, all right, and that would be very smart. Um, and now I'm doing it. Okay,
Boom! What a guy.
all right, Beau. Now I'm putting you on the spot. And by the way, you are muted before you start speaking.
Yes, okay, apologies. I was fighting off a giant mosquito and I did win successfully, just in case
Hey, now
anybody's wondering.
Gavin's not that bad. Come on.
Oh, ouch. Okay. Atlanta United. What's the sweating bullets one? Is that what it is? Let me
Yeah,
see.
starting to sweat.
Yeah, I have us at starting to sweat. There's no denying that the attacking talent is there. Um, they've got really great pieces. They spent a lot of money on the attack. However, the weakest part of that team last season wasn't the attack. Maybe it was, maybe look at some of the advanced numbers. Maybe it was one, but like I said from the very beginning, this team will go as far as the defense will carry them, and the defense simply is not good enough. I'm hoping that Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson have got some tricks up their sleeves. Hopefully they're looking at some options or something to trade market. I have no idea. But yeah, as of right now, um, I guess Atlanta is very much proving that a good offense does not it's not going to carry you past a god awful defense.
And their offense hasn't even been amazing this season. I mean, Latte Loths looked to the part. Almiron's looked good, obviously. Moranchuk has been a disaster yet again this season. And Saba I thought he played well at the weekend, to be honest, but I think that was his best performance in a while for Atlanta. So I think starting to sweat is fair.
Yeah, I think that for some reason, I guess just when I think of, it's a bunch of dudes playing. They don't quite look like a team yet. And, spoiler, okay, kind of FC Dallas has been the same way a little bit, but it is only 5 games into the season. I know that, building that chemistry takes a while, but yeah, like you would hope that with guys like Latte Loth and El Marone that they would click quicker than they would. But so far, it's just been a bunch of dudes.
Guys being dudes. Beau, I don't disagree at all. So I will add nothing further to this, and instead I'm going to add that Gavin is next in our alphabet. Breaking news: G comes before R, but after B. So Gavin, you get Austin FC. Where are you putting them?
I don't feel fully comfortable putting them at the top tier, so I'm going to go with Michael Bublé.
It's Michael Bublé. Bold choice. I would immediately start to argue that, but let me hear your reasoning.
I think they've looked much more secure defensively this season. It's the offense that really worries me, and they're putting points on the board. So I'm feeling pretty good about them, but I'm not thinking they're a contender by any means.
Okay. See, I agree that their defense is looking better. I still have some pretty jury's still out for me on their offense, and that felt like where some big money was spent on the offseason, which is I had him on neutral. Like I'm not feeling, super high vibes on them, but I'm not feeling low. Like I need to see their offense either flounder or succeed before I can make a judgment on it.
Bo, you're the tiebreaker. What do you think?
I think you guys are both. I think that they're kind of living on a neutral planet. I know they're second right now. Um, they have scored. I'm with Russell on this. They scored a lot of money, or they spent a lot of money. They have scored 4 goals in 5 games, and now they've let up 3. But they're not. Yeah, they're not offensively. With the amount of money that they've spent, you kind of would have hoping that some of these guys would have taken a little bit quicker. Like you said, Vasquez, as you know, isn't new to the league. What's his face came over
Uzuni?
midway. Yes, Azuni. I was gonna say it's not Azuni, but it was Azuni.
Gavin's a big Uzuni fan.
Yeah, came over midway through, so you kind of hope he'd hit the ground running a little bit quicker than he did. But
That was Bukhari who came over last year.
Bakari, thank you. I was gonna say it wasn't
Azuni
as.
Azuni
Thank
came
you.
in off season. Yep.
Yes, so I would have hoped that Bakari and Vasquez would have hit the ground running a little bit quicker than what they have. But also at the same time, Nico is their coach, and so he's. I'm still not convinced that he's an amazing offensive oriented coach, so I'm not really quite sure what to expect really out of them.
All right. Gavin, you're being overruled. We're moving him down one tier. Which, for the record, I don't think being in a neutral spot is a negative thing right now. Again, we're 5 matches into the season. If anything, it takes a lot to get outside of the neutral zone, which is why I am going to place CF Montreal into hitting the Panic at the Disco button. That's I don't think it requires any further explanation. Oof, I really feel for any Montreal fans. Like I don't know what to do with this ownership group. It's so obvious that that is the root of the issue, and it's maybe equally obvious that it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and I don't know when it gets better.
Well said.
Nothing to add here.
All right. Well, no, Beau, there is something for you to add because you need to place Charlotte somewhere on the tier maker.
Okay, this is a tough assignment because I'm obviously high on Charlotte. I am going to go with, against my better judgment, I'm going to go cooler than being cool. This is an exciting team. You could very much talk me into Buble. Like, really, I think they kind of fit over both because they're still a little bit too one note on their play style. But I also wonder too, now that Dean Smith got a contract extension, maybe that doesn't open him up. He's not worried as much about job security. Maybe he'll start to tinker something a bit. I don't know, but they've looked the part all season long. And Zaha came in late, so these guys are only going to click more and hopefully get even better.
Honestly, no arguments. I I think it's in a good spot to put them. They've looked convincing through the early season.
I think so too. Yeah, I was kind of going back and forth between the top two tiers, and I think this one's fine.
Yeah, they've earned it for now. We can revisit in 5 to 10 weeks. Gavin, Chicago. I I think you were pretty. Beau was high on them. You were high on them. Where would you like to put them?
Probably I'm going to go again with Michael Bublé. I think they've been in really good form. They are 3 wins in a row as well, similar to Nashville. And they're winning on the road. That's the big thing. I mean, this is a team that throughout the last decade has been a tough watch, and now they're out here winning games, scoring goals, playing some exciting soccer with some fun DPS to watch. So for me, it still feels like they're lacking the pieces to go on and win a big trophy, but I think that they should be feeling pretty good about where they're at this season.
This is probably an overreach, but I'm going cooler than being cool. Um, I know Gavin is just literally, I know, but here's the thing. I think most people have no idea how the luck that Chicago has had this year has been so bad. Like if you look at their injuries, I mean, it's awful. Whenever they played FC Dallas, they started two teenagers next to Kellen Acosta. Kellen Acosta got injured halfway through the first half, and they put in Pineda, who literally was like just on the bench for the first time, and they weren't even sure could make a half, and he made it through the game because he had to. Um, they have been this good, and they're missing probably close to a third to half of their starters and key players are not there. So they're looking this good already, and you're telling me they're going to get even better players. I'll take cooler than being cool. Again, it's probably a reach, and I'm probably being a little dramatic. It probably should be Buble, just like Charlotte. But what Berhalter has done there, chef's kiss.
Beau, the rationale that you speak of is so flawless. And yet, I think that's the exact reason why I think they perfectly fit into Michael Bublé, because they're doing a lot of really good things on an immensely stressed roster right now. And I just am not convinced that in this sport that you can have those performances week in, week out on such an unproven and untested roster. Like I think they're gonna have some really good matches, and I think they're gonna have some matches where people are like, you know what? They're young. They're gonna have their bad games. So I think Buble is actually a perfect spot for them right now, because it's a lot of positive signs, but I think there's some challenges over, the next, say, 6 to 10 weeks.
I try to talk you out of it, but we have another 25 teams to go through, so and another
Yeah.
list, but it's all right.
Yeah. Well, in theory, the other list will be shorter, but I don't know. That's Gavin's activity. I'm not going to speak for him. What I will speak for, though, is the Colorado Rapids, and I waffle a little bit between Starting to Sweat and Neutral Planet, because on one hand, I think Colorado is much more fun to watch this year. On the other hand, we're starting to see some of the issues from last year still repeat. So I waffle a little bit. I'm gonna put them tentatively on Neutral Planet because, again, I think you're gonna have up weeks and down weeks, and they've had, I think, some fair bit of luck go against them where maybe they probably could have had better results than they had. Very tentative though. Like I could be talked very easily into Starting to Sweat.
It's starting to sweat for me. Looking at them, the soccer just hasn't been super pretty, and I think that they haven't really had an ability to stop the ball going through midfield, and I'm not quite sure how that changes because it's not like unless I'm just completely blanking on someone, which could be, but I I don't really know if they have any key reinforcements coming in, like with an injury or something like that, who's going to help stop that gap. So I would say Starting to Sweat, but also at the same time, Chris Armas is Chris Armas. So maybe he should get the benefit of the doubt. But I think you phrased it perfectly, Russell. I just landed Starting to Sweat.
Gavin, you get to be the tiebreaker.
I'm going to go with neutral. I'm going to stick with neutral because they've been playing well. They've been putting results on the board, but I agree with everything you said, Beau. But and this week the goals went in because they didn't have a Zach Steffen to go and save them. So and your goalkeeper is a part of your team. So I'm going to go with neutral for now, but I could see it going to starting to sweat maybe the next 5 games.
All right. Well, Beau, I'm going to give you the prestigious honor of getting to place Columbus Crew somewhere on this board. And I think it could be multiple spots.
I'll take cooler than being cool. As good as they have been, they have been quite good. I mean, if you look at the soccer, I know they're in sixth, but they're still playing good soccer, and they have a DP spot open. Man, see, this is where it gets tricky because it's like I think that I'm gonna go Buble. I'm gonna go Buble. All right. I think if they open up if they bring in another DP attacker, easy, cooler than being cool. But I feel like that, yeah, I guess kind of talking this into it, they have the other DP attacker puts them into another level. So yes, I'll go Buble, which is weird. I keep saying Michael Buble, and yeah.
Well, it's the Michael Bublé category. You're feeling good. Gavin, I'm gonna jump in before you throw your piece on this one. And Beau, I think I agree with you on the Michael Bublé here. I waffled between that and Neutral Planet, and it's solely because they've had some pretty key outbound players. And as far as I can really think of, none of them were replaced. And yes, the season is still very young, but we're not going to get to the summer window for probably the first, I don't know, the first half of the season, maybe even first 2/3 of the season. Like by the time you bring in summer signings, you're looking at 10 matches left into the season. So I think it's going to become a very tall task depending on how ready they are once summer rolls around to bring things in. But all things considered, like they're playing so much better than most teams would in their circumstances. And I credit that almost entirely to Nancy, just being like, I'm going to get the absolute best and maybe even better than the best out of every player on this roster.
I think they're placed appropriately. They're still undefeated. Just feel like they need some more attacking power to get them higher up the table.
Yeah. Does it feel like the
Three
shoe's going to
draws.
drop for them?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Okay. All right. Well, then, Gavin, I'm going to let you talk about DC United, who unfortunately, David, not here with us today to wax poetic about.
I just had the pleasure of watching them live in the flesh against Orlando City, and we picked them apart, man. I mean, that was brutal for them. I'm gonna go with neutral. I think they've been actually pretty good this season, all things considered. They haven't been amazing. I mean, it's been draw central for them, but I think they have the best striker in the league, and with that, you can do a lot. You can do a lot. So, I think on that piece they're good. I think they are missing attacking playmaking. I think it's a clear hole in the squad. And defensively, they were doing good this season until they went to Orlando, and we just totally brutalized them. We could have been 7-0. I'm not even joking. We missed a couple of goals. We left a couple of goals out there. So, yeah, I'm going to go with neutral just because of that recency bias, but throughout the season, that was their first loss of the season. So, overall, I think they've been neutral.
All right, this is, I guess, the first major thing. I'm hitting panic at the disco button. Um, okay, I know people are going to go, yeah, like, made a great point. Their very first loss of the year. But if you look at their schedule, they've had an incredibly soft schedule, like incredibly easy. Like they tied Montreal. They barely beat Sporting KC. They tied Chicago, who's decimated with injuries. Orlando went in, bent them over the knee, and spanked them on public TV. Um, this is. I mean, this right here is this. This team, their entire success lies upon one 34-year-old striker. That right there, I mean, there's that right there should be Panic at the Disco alone. Like you should be panicking because you're a 34-year-old hamstring away from from Gabriel Pirani leading your attack, which is a terrifying thought.
Gavin, it's gonna bring you no pleasure to hear this, but I side with Beau pretty strongly on this one.
Gosh.
And not only that, Gavin, but let me just point out to you, okay? In case you forgot, DC United is paying for a designated player for Atlanta.
I will never forget that fact. Which Klisch
Yeah, they
hasn't
could
been
really
great.
use. Yeah, he hasn't been great, but man, they could really use someone like him right now.
Yeah, I just it, they're in such a weird, not good spot roster wise and gaping holes aside wise. Like, yeah, and if somehow Benteke were to pick up an injury, I would create a sixth tier for like call it a season for this team because I think that would be it if he got a long-term injury. Unfortunately, I now have to talk about my own team, Cincinnati. I didn't plan to talk about them. And I'll tell you right now, I'm putting them in the starting to sweat category, and it's trending towards hitting the Panic at the Disco button very quickly. If we did this tier maker maybe 2 weeks from now, I would probably be sitting there depending on results. But Cincinnati we've all said this probably in the group chat multiple times, they have no identity right now. And they have all the talent that you could ask for on that roster, but what are they doing with that talent? How do you intend to get any sort of production out of it? I don't know if any of us have an answer to that. I don't know if the coaching staff has an answer to that. So look, Noonan's a good coach. He's won coach of the year before. He's done some really impressive things. So I'm giving him that level of benefit of the doubt, but it does not look good right now. And it is going to take a heavy effort to turn it around. So I'm starting to sweat, and we'll see.
I very much disagree with this one. I think this is living on planet neutral for sure. You have Denke, Evander, Orjano, Kubo. And if you think about it, Orjano and Kubo, like they didn't get a preseason. They didn't come until late. So technically, like they would just now be finishing up their preseason. And then Evander came in literally exact same thing for Evander. I mean, this is the normal rules and logic can apply. I think with this, like other teams can. I think that. I mean, look, when you have players like that, they will figure it out. The quality will rise to the top. I don't see. I mean, it's kind of not necessarily clicking and stuff, but I mean, you're about to get Miazga back too. Like I'm very much chilling where it's like, because I mean, again, here's the thing. It's the thing that matters most is getting hot at the end of the season, right, and going into the playoffs. Like it doesn't really matter kind of where you are. You know, you got to get hot going to the playoffs, and the way Cincinnati and everything is stacking up. First half of the season may not be pretty, but man, that second half looks like it's going to be quite a run in, and it's going to be fun to watch.
It might be, but I haven't seen anything yet that makes me think that's coming.
I mean, you guys do have defensive issues yet again, like just personnel problems. I'm leaning towards neutral planet as well. I think we should have some bad teams and starting to sweat, and I don't think Cincinnati is that level of bad. I think they're more middle right now, but I don't think you guys have been as impressive as we were anticipating.
You guys are a lot higher on them than I am, and I am so here for it, and I hope both of you are right. All right, we're going to the top of the table again. Beau, your boys, FC Dallas. I know you're feeling cooler than being cool, right?
I'm actually starting to sweat with FC Dallas. Um,
I can't
yeah,
wait for both of us to talk you into living on the neutral planet.
no. I've watched all the FC Dallas games. Some of them I've even rewatched. Um, this is a team that is struggling incredibly in midfield. Yes, I know they got 3 points against Real Salt Lake, but Real Salt Lake got a red card in the 20th minute, and FC Dallas never once controlled the game. I mean, honestly, late in the game, like Real Salt Lake was down for the last 20 minutes. Real Salt Lake had the ball the entire time, and they were the most attacking team. FC Dallas, like you would have thought it was 11v11. And this is a team with, I feel like the defense is struggling. Um, the reason, sorry, the defense, not defense struggling. The midfield is struggling. There is a consistent teams are not having any sort of problem passing the ball through midfield and playing through this. I don't think Ramiro has been that good coming in, and Lucho Acosta, like, um, he's been. Honestly, there are times this like throughout the year. I think it was earlier this year in the Houston game. It was like the 60th minute. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like Lucho Acosta's on this team. Like, he was invisible. And then even in this Real Salt Lake game, he got caught trying to play hero ball constantly. It was giving the ball up. Um, I think that some of the subs that they have bringing off the bench that they're constantly bringing off, I'm not going to say who, but they're making low IQ plays consistently and giving the ball up cheaply. I just think that the reason I'm starting to sweat is that this team has needed another good, solid midfielder for two years now, at least, maybe three, and the same problem is popping up its head, and nothing is really happening. So, yeah, I know you guys might think I'm crazy, but I've been starting to sweat on FC Dallas, especially after the Real Salt Lake performance too.
I struggle to disagree. I think FC Dallas haven't been great this season, and I would be starting to sweat. I think that's a good place to put them.
Very interesting. I would have been more neutral on them, and a lot of my rationale probably would have been similar to Beau, just noting that like guys like Acosta came in with essentially no preseason, but also at the same time, I mean, your your critique about Hero Ball and Acosta, that is a very fair critique, and I will tell you that that will never go away because Acosta and Hero Ball exist in the same sentence at all times, even if you don't want them to. So, you know what? I'm happy to let it stay in starting to sweat, but I think there is some more optimism because Lucho will still go win you games single-handedly, and, you know, the city will love him for it.
Yeah, I hope isn't he? He's like 34, right? Like he's not exactly a young spring chicken either. So at some point, he's going to start going downhill. I just kind of wonder if it's this year.
Yeah, I don't know when it'll be. I don't think it'll be this year, but I agree that it's coming. All right, Gavin, let's keep it moving here. You got Houston Dynamo. Where are you tossing them?
Houston Dynamo. It's hard because they just got a big player
Mm-hmm.
in attacking midfield, and they just got in a young, exciting player from Brazil in central midfield as well. But performances this season would have me hitting the panic at the disco button. I feel like I would have them pretty low. So I'm going to go with hitting the panic button.
Okay. All right. Well, I struggle to disagree with you right now. I mean, they're not a good team. Just and again, until I see something change, you I can you can argue theoreticals all day and night. So
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick with that. I know we lost Beau and Beau has returned. Hope all
right.
is well, Beau. But we put Houston at the bottom. Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I do not agree. I am very much living on planet neutral with them. I know that I know I'm alone on this, but Houston finally signed a number 10 attacker. They've been hanging on, the most that you can, whenever you actually need a number 10 attacker. So I think giving, and you guys know, like I think Jack McClin hung the moon. So no, I'm not. I'm not really worried. I think it's living on planet neutral now. If with their number 10 comes in and he shows that he's not up to the pace of the league and everything else, then yeah, I'm starting to sweat. But no, I'm very much living on planet neutral on them. But I know that I'm like the last person holding Houston Dynamo stock at this point.
My counterpoint to that, Beau, and because I agree with Gavin on this, is you talk about needing a number 10. Well, look at what they did with Ponce. Don't think that was a good signing and hasn't panned out for them. So until I am shown that their signings are good, I do not trust Houston Dynamo with big signings right now.
Yeah, I mean, by the same logic, then you would have to say that Hector Herrera and Coco Carrasquilla were bad signings, right? I mean, in those,
Coco was a good signing.
yes, right. And Hector Herrera was an all-star, was one of the better like holding midfielders in the league for several years. No, I don't have a problem. I mean, yeah, at least with Ezekiel Ponce, he shows flashes of you could see why they signed him. Um, but yeah, I'm not sweating near as much as everyone else is on the Dynamo. But like I said, I know that I'm literally the last guy holding on to the stock. But yeah,
You're getting really cheap stock. You're going to be, rolling in GAM once, Houston stock goes up.
or I'll be the last guy living under a bridge still holding Blockbuster stock. One of the two.
Right. Well, look, let's trade out your Blockbuster stock for some GameStop stock, i.e. Inter Miami stock. Beau, where do you put them?
I mean, cooler than being cool. These guys just pound for pound. If you put Inter Miami right now against any other team in the league, you would be silly not to bet on Inter Miami. They just, I think they could beat any team at any point so far this season. So, yeah, that's where I am.
I think that one's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, the easiest one we've done all night. So, Gavin, we're going to move it over to NYCFC. Floor is yours.
Ooh, I think this one's a tough one. Neutral. I'm living on the neutral planet. I think they've been okay. I don't think they've been great. I don't think they've been terrible. So I'm gonna go with living on neutral for them.
Interesting. Interesting. I would have been starting to sweat personally, but I'm not totally tied to that notion, but I think there's some pretty obvious flaws and gaps in this team that have not been addressed, and I don't think the ownership group seems all that bothered to address them. So, yeah, I would be starting to sweat just from a perspective of how does this team improve going forward, and I don't think there's a plan for it. But, Beau, what about you? Where are you sitting on this?
I'm with you. I sit firmly like I'm straddling the fence on this one. If you have to put me somewhere there, I'm going to go living on neutral planet. I think that they're they're an average MLS team right now, but they need some more big money signings, right? I mean, they got rid of probably their best player, Santi Rodriguez, and they haven't replaced that yet. So they are chugging along as an average MLS team, and that's just what they are, right there in the middle.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, I get the pleasure now of placing LAFC firmly into the living on neutral planet. And I'll tell you right now, it's another one of those that I could be talked into, despite the fact that as I check right now, they sit in third place in the Western Conference. I actually have some concerns about LAFC going forward. Like the performances have looked fine. The player talent is good, but they should be getting more out of what they have on this roster. And I think they've been a bit fortunate to get the results that they have, and they've had, from what I recall, a good number of one-goal wins. Those are going to go against them, and I don't think it's the hallmark of a team that is going to just coast into a home playoff spot. I think they're gonna struggle personally.
I am living on Buble for LAFC. Uh,
Ooh.
this is they signed Udair, Ivan Jesus. I think they're in the middle. Those are some pretty key spots. Their hands kind of got forced on Kiki Oliveira, Bogush. I mean, a normal team that loses Christian Oliveira, Mateus Bogush, Omar Campos, Jesus Murillo, uh, Ilie Sanchez, you don't come back from that, and they have just continued along. I mean, and I know you talked about LAFC and their 1 goal games, but that's what they do. That's their mo. They live and die on 1 goal games because they are just defensively sound enough that it's like, yeah, we're gonna beat you. Bo Buwanga hasn't really lit it up so far this year. So I mean, if you consider the fact that they're chilling in third and their best player hasn't even been best playering, then yeah, I think they're pretty solid Buble contenders at the moment.
Hmm.
Gavin, tiebreakers?
Yeah. I'm kind of going between both. They haven't been amazing. I think I lean more towards Bubai. I've been really impressed with the supporting cast up front, not just Boanga, but David Martinez, who is having a breakout season. He has been playing really well every time he's been on the pitch. Defensively, I think they've been really good, except for that Seattle match, which was in between CONCACAF Champions Cup games, so that's almost like a throwaway game. I'm feeling pretty good about them. I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to be a home playoff team essentially. I think that's where they live in my mind.
All right. Well, in that case, we're going back to the top of the order yet again. It feels like Groundhog Day. Beau, you get to talk about LA Galaxy.
Uh, I am living on neutral planet. Yeah, I know. I could tell Russell was already putting it, hitting it, Panic at the Disco. Listen, here's my thing on them. Ricky Pooch wasn't going to be back. Everyone knew that. All right. Um, they are missing an incredibly important piece to the attack right now in Joseph Paintsill. Right now, uh, so Gabriel Peck is a guy who wants to receive the ball and he wants to run at you and go one-on-one. In order to do that, you need to have another player who is making runs in behind. That because it keeps the defense, they have multiple things to worry about. As of right now, with Royce and Fagundes, that doesn't exist. It is literally just, hey, let's just keep everything in front of us. They can't do anything. Whenever Paintsill went down, I mean, maybe I'm the only one, but when Paintsill went down with the quad injury for 2 months, I knew that they were going to be in trouble. I mean, it was just like, well, this is going to be a really rough start. Because that's what Paintsill does. It does well. He makes those runs in behind and gives the defenses multiple things to worry about, and it opens the game up for your Royce and your Fagundes and everything else. That's why I'm living on neutral planet right now, because in, what, 3 weeks or somewhere around that timeline, Joseph Paintsill is going to be back, and all of a sudden now they're going to get a top 5 winger in the league back on the other side. And I mean, look, this is 2 weeks in a row now. They went out on the road and they got a point. All right. I mean, they're showing some improvement. So that's why for me, I'm living on neutral planet. I know a lot of people think that the sky is falling and everything else, but these guys are about to get back one of the best players in the league, and that's going to make their best player, Gabriel Peck, all the more better.
You've talked me out of Panic at the Disco button, but I am still starting to sweat on this. And my counterpoint that still worries me on this, Beau, we saw the released roster flexibility, and Galaxy has exactly $0 of flexibility. This is what they are stuck with for the season. And that, again, we know Pooj isn't going to be coming back. Does getting back the one player bring them to a point where they can push from sitting right now in 14th place, where, again, I recognize 5 games into the season, right? But that compounds very quickly. Like, how long can you sit in 14th, 15th, and then still find a way to, claw yourself back into like the ninth, 10th spot eighth spot maybe to make it into the playoffs at the end of the season. Because Pooch probably won't be back until like July, August.
Man, 3 months of Ricky Pooch is, I guess, July, August, 2 months of Ricky Pooch. That's a lot of games laid on and a lot of points that could swing your way if he comes back healthy, right? It may take him some adjustment time. So you could definitely swing me into starting to sweat, but until I see Paintsil and what this team is actually going to look like without him, I'm not really freaking out as much as everyone else is. But again, that's just me. I'm also a massive Joseph Paintsil homer, so.
I recognize that look, Gavin. I recognize that. That's the of I'm about to agree with Beau on this one.
I think I am, yeah. Yeah, I think neutral for now. We'll see. We'll see how they cope the next 5 games. It has not been a great start to the season, but injuries do count. They do play a factor.
Yeah, I think to Beau's point, they will certainly improve once they are back to relative full strength for what we should expect for most of the season. But I am nervous.
This is their ceiling right now. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Agree. It's a scary ceiling. It's like one of those drop tile ceilings from like the 1970s that like is kind of weirdly stained, and you're worried about looking on the other side because there's probably black mold on it, but you don't want to look because as long as you don't look, it's not a problem. It doesn't exist. All right, well, Gavin, Minnesota United. Where are you tossing them?
Wow, these last 2 games have been a real eye opener for Minnesota United. They have in the last 2 games given up late leads to SKC, who we don't have on here yet, but I know which half of the bracket they're going to be in, and LA Galaxy, who we have in the middle there. And so while they've looked good this season, I think they do have some concerns. So I'm going to go with neutral. I'm going to go with neutral on them.
I like how you said they have some concerns, so I'm neutral.
Well, I said they've looked good, but they've also had some concerns. You can't be 3-0 up against SKC and not win that game, right?
That
You can't be 2-1 up against LA Galaxy and not win that game. Those should have both been wins for Minnesota United.
And neither of them were.
Correct.
I would be sweating.
I'm not sweating because they are looking good. Like they are getting into the positions to win the games. They're just not closing it out. So that's why I'm neutral on them.
All right. Okay.
They're not bad enough to be sweating.
Beau, would you like to talk some sense into Gavin?
I am Michael Bublé on
Gavin, would you like to talk some sense into Beau?
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of I'm trying to look up the injury report here to figure out actually how long. One of the key players to Minnesota United, their attack and defense, is Joseph Rosales, and he's been out for a bit with injury. I don't think it's serious. I think he's actually supposed to be back pretty soon. And up until they lost him, they were actually looking and playing quite well. Yeah, I look at them and I think that this is a team that, when it's all said and done, when everything clicks into place like it's supposed to, because they are a solid defensive team. And I know the last week or two they've had their moments, this and that, but this is a team that's pretty solid defensively otherwise, and that when you take out those blips and when they're playing like they're supposed to, I think this is a borderline home playoff kind of team. Kelvin Yeboah is good. Tony Oluwaseyi's finally getting a chance. I'm not super in love with Will Trapp still starting in the middle, but again, this is a salary cap league, so you make do with what you got. But yeah, I think that especially once Rosales comes back, that this team is going to be a lot more sound defensively and even more dangerous going forward.
Yeah, in order to be a borderline home playoff team, you gotta close out games and you've got to get the results. And right now they're not getting the results. So I think that's why I have them where I initially placed them.
Yeah, I get that. I just look at the quality of the players and the play style, and that when they play like they're designed to and they don't have those boneheaded stupid moments, this is a team that should be able to get it done. And I don't disagree with you. You've got to get the results. And they're not right now, which could be what drops them into that 5 through 8 non-playoff thing. You're absolutely right.
Then it sounds like living on neutral planet is probably the right spot to put him in, considering we're split 3 ways on this one, and it averages out to neutral even if you take all 3 of us. So there we go. Everything perfectly balanced, right?
All is good in the world.
Well, all is not good in the world because somehow I've ended up talking about Nashville, and I now have to put them into the Michael Bublé category against my, moral compass, because Nashville has been, and I dare say they have been resurgent, especially against expectations. And I think I'm just going to credit it to them maybe finally figuring out how they want to play. Do they have it locked down just yet? No, but there's a lot of very good signs. I mean, they're getting results against teams that I don't think we would have picked them to get results against. Beau could not disagree with me more, and I can't wait for the justification here. But yeah, like they're exceeding the expectations that I had of them. Granted, I had a pretty low bar for them. So maybe that's why I'm pretty high on them, because I was like, I don't expect them to accomplish anything.
I
And
can
here they
promise.
are. Yeah,
Sorry, I
you
thought
you
you were
can
done.
promise me.
I can promise you this is not where they're going to end up on this tier maker.
I cannot wait to see where they end up on this tier maker. You know what, let's just hear it right now. Where does, and I say this sitting above multiple teams on this tier maker, where do you think Nashville should go? And we're going to start with Beau, who I think has a much stronger opinion on this than either Gavin or myself.
I am not this high on them. I can tell you for sure. Let me list the teams that they have played so far this year for you. All right. They beat Montreal Impact. All right. Hopefully your local U12 club could probably beat the Montreal Impact at this point. Um, they beat the Philadelphia Union. That's a big one, right? A red carded Philadelphia Union. Right, right. Philadelphia Union was playing with those players. They beat the Portland Timbers. They lost to the New York Red Bulls. They tied New England. This is not murderer's row that they face. Matter of fact, this may be the easiest schedule that you can possibly get. Um, and so no, I think that right now, I think while I'm not sweating, I think that this is the perfect contender for living on planet neutral. They went out, they got the results that they were supposed to get. They lost some they lost some and tied some that they probably should have gotten points out of. So that's why I don't think you can sit here and put them high enough up. Now listen, if you're a Nashville fan, you're probably like, "Oh, these guys," that's fine. But listen, this consider where you were last year. Last year, it was like we don't even need to hit the panic button because there's nothing to panic about. Like you're Nashville, like there was nothing to panic about. So the fact that this is even an argument should be a big win for Nashville fans. But again, looking at the schedule that they have faced, I am 100% on planet neutral until I actually see them take down some quality.
Yeah, I'm also on planet neutral. Just a quick edit. The Philadelphia match, the red card didn't happen until the 102nd minute, but there is still a caveat with that match, Bo, because Philadelphia should have had a clear penalty given to them, and it wasn't given, and that would have made the match, I believe, 2-2 at the time. And so instead of it being 2-1 and then score effects, instead it goes to 2-2. We don't know what happens. So I think they got really lucky there, and then really, really poor scheduling, or really poor opponents, I should say. So it's looking good now. I think we're going to see the real Nashville come out in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Neutral.
All right. You negative Nellies, you. I think You will be gently surprised, Gavin, and I think you'll be moderately surprised, Beau. But we'll see. What do I know? I'm a guy who loses slightly more than he wins on sports betting. So
Hey, one of my friends is a really big Nashville fan, so I hope for his sake that I'm wrong, but we'll see.
right. What? Listen, if one of your friends is a Nashville fan, they should be listening to specifically this part of the podcast so they can feel very smug.
Yeah,
But that said,
it's been nice for Jason because he's had a rough couple years of late. So these last few weeks, I haven't done anything to really share my feelings. It's just like, yeah, you know what? Good for you, man. Good for you.
okay. Well, here, you can share your feelings about something else, Beau, because you can see that you now get to share your feelings about the New England Revolution.
It's no secret I'm not a Caleb Porter fan, and I don't think that anyone who is being led with him at the helm uh, can win stuff. So as long as he is there, I am hitting the panic at the disco button. I could go into a bunch of stuff, but let's just be real. I think at this point, you might actually have to pay me to watch a New England Revolution soccer game. It is unattractive, not great soccer. This is a team that went out and completely overhauled a roster. A that was a very good playoff contending, like home game, like hosting a home playoff game type team until Arena got canned or suspended or whatever, and then he came in and just literally didn't just drive it into the ground. He took it out of the street and beat it and urinated on the dead body and drug it behind. I mean, he did everything he could to drive that team to the ground. So anyway, I think I've ranted long enough. Sorry.
Wow, I think your rant is in the right direction because I'm not going to disagree on anything you said. And I think for the amount of overhaul and roster change that the team committed to under Porter, you're getting the exact same results you got last year. When are you going to admit that you made the wrong hire?
Yeah, nothing else to add.
All right. Well, how about you add this to our tier maker, Gavin? You got New York Red Bulls.
This is another hard one.
I saved all the
Ooh,
hard ones for you,
yeah.
Gavin. Don't worry.
My goodness, New York Red Bulls. I think. Gosh, it got to be another neutral. It's got to be another middle. They've been okay offensively. They've been okay defensively. They haven't lit the league on fire. I don't think they should be feeling great. I don't think they should be feeling terrible. To me, they're just very neutral.
100%. They don't do anything great, but they also don't do anything really bad and shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, to really drive this point home, they currently sit in 7th place, the exact middle of the table for the East. So yeah, all that to say, neutral. Agree. I like how this was very hard, and then we all agreed. Yep, neutral. Okay. At risk of being told that I am overreacting to a win over a not very good DC United team who we have at the hitting panic at the disco button, I'm going to put Orlando City in the Michael Bublé category. And I'm going to say Gavin's maybe forcing Kool-Aid down my throat on this one, talking about the good things that Oscar Pareja is doing, where Oscar Pareja will normally wait until all hope is lost and then he'll try new things that the team was crying out for. And then it's at that point, it basically didn't matter anymore. It's well, why didn't you do this earlier in the season? And someone must have told them that they actually started the season down 10 points because now he's trying new things early in the season and it's working and Orlando is getting results. And it's kind of weird to see them doing well this early and with no pressure on them. So yeah, Michael Bublé. I don't trust Pareja for the record. I think he's gonna pull a Pareja and he's gonna go back to uninspired coaching just very randomly. But for now, feeling good.
I think feeling good is fair. We've been very up and down this season, so you maybe could put neutral. But attacking wise, I think we have the most goals in the league. I think that's the stat. We've been scoring for fun, really. It's just been the defense that's been a concern. So I think Michael Bublé is fair place to put us. Now we have a tough stretch coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see how we get through that with away to LA Galaxy and then away to Philadelphia right after that.
Yeah, this is
you are
interesting.
correct, by the
This
way.
is the antithesis of Oscar Pareja teams. They are great offensively and they are very vulnerable defensively. So I personally am kind of more living on neutral planet rather than Buble. I think they're another kind of middle of the pack contender. But I think that if they continue to score like this, but also could go back to how defensively solid they are, they could become a top tier team if everything clicks. Now, they also have a problem in that also Pedro Gallese himself is probably worth hitting the Panic at the Disco button. But yeah, I'm personally neutral, but c'est la vie. I don't know if that actually fits or even really what that means, but whatever.
If you're a listener who knows what C'est la vie means, you can find us and let us know at MLS Now Podcast on social media, and let us know if Beau got that one right or wrong. That said, Beau, I will let you get one very right here by getting to talk about the Philadelphia Union and where they belong on this chart.
They have to be cooler than being cool. However, I think that there's a huge caveat, as I've said over and over again, high pressing teams always start the season hot. However, at the moment, they are ice cold. I mean, they destroy anyone and everything in their path for the most part. So
Other than Nashville.
except for Nashville. But yeah, so I think they're top tier contender at the moment, but with the exception of they may be much lower come August.
Yeah, no disagreements from me on that. You can say whatever you want about the future, but right now, in the moment, the vibes are immaculate. So, cooler and being cool.
Yep.
All right. Gavin, another. I'm sorry that I keep giving you these teams, but here you go. Portland Timbers.
Portland Timbers. Can I like phone a friend? Like I don't know.
You can phone Beau, who is on the call with us.
Okay, let me just throw this out there. I starting to sweat.
Wait, does this mean I'm Gavin's friend?
Apparently, yes. Of course you are. Starting. I'm gonna put them starting to sweat. I'm gonna put them starting to sweat.
That's exactly where I had him.
Yeah, I don't think they've been great. Their wins. Let me go look at who their wins were against. I know one of their wins was against.
They beat Colorado. They tied the Galaxy. They beat Austin.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna go with starting to sweat. Sorry, Russell called me and threw me off because I said, "Can I phone a friend?" And then I didn't
You
answer
actually
it in
sent
time.
me to voicemail right away. I had to call you a second time to get through the do not disturb mode.
Sorry. Where do you have them, Russell?
True dedication to the joke.
Yeah, I also had them on starting to sweat for the record.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad we're all on the same page.
Okay. RSL, and Beau's gonna absolutely disagree and tear me apart on this one. I'm gonna put them in starting to sweat because I just look. Diego Luna is the heart and soul of RSL, and I have very little hope for them outside of Diego Luna. And I just don't know if a one-man team with 1 point of joy gives me much hope. Like, they need more from this team. And so I'm putting them in starting to sweat. Beau's taking a deep breath before he jumps in here. So we're gonna go to Gavin first, while Beau adequately oxygenates himself for this discussion.
RSL. I think you've got them in the right spot, personally. So I'm sorry, Bo. I think you've got
Bo
RSL in the right spot.
Bo's about to drop off this call right
Probably.
now and
Lord,
send us a
forgive them, for
message.
they know not what they do.
He's about to tell us he's putting them in cooler than being cool. So
Probably,
go
yeah.
ahead, Bo.
No, I have. To me, they are one of the most prototypical living on neutral planet teams. I mean, they are just center of the road. They didn't have their best player, Diego Luna, and they outplayed FC Dallas this week, and they were down a man. So, yeah, I think that if they get a striker, which they're gonna get one, like they are. But because I don't think that as much as like, for example, someone like Sporting KC is struggling and they have Willie Agata on the bench, or if Orlando keeps struggling defensively and they have Duncan McGuire, because I mean, look, RSL has the deepest defensive core in the league. I mean, they have five, they have probably four MLS starting caliber center backs. I mean, it's impressive. Um, so yeah, I think that when they do that, and then you get Luna, Ruiz, Anelli, Catron, I mean, there's too many good things here for them to not go. So right now, I'm living on planet neutral. If I'm an RSL fan, I am not worried in the slightest because, unlike a lot of other people, I think Pablo Mastroeni consistently gets the best out of what he's given, and he's continuing to do that.
All right. Your reasoning is noted, and I will look back on this in about 5 weeks when they are putting out better results, and I'll be like, man, Bo knew what he was talking about again. Well, Bo, how about this? I will let you now place the team that I have a recent fascination with, San Diego FC. Where are you putting them on the
You
board?
know what, Russell? I'm actually going to insist that you place them because you were the one who, more than anyone else and higher than anyone else, were driving the San Diego hype train. It is only fair that you lead us off on this team.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm actually starting to sweat. Uh, listen,
You're not joking?
no, I'm. You have, I think, you have a really big question now that Lozano has been out. Like, I don't know who on their team, and I assume they have to bring someone in the summer is going to be the answer, right? I don't know where you get the offensive production, and that's the only thing on San Diego that worries me. Like, I have a lot of fun watching them. I think their style of possession is fun. They have a lot of really good ideas in Dreyer, who seems to be the only positive attacking thing for on a consistent basis for them. And I don't know where they get scoring results from. Like they're getting results, they're getting points, but I don't know how like I need more from them. And
Did I
like
miss
Ingvartsen
did I miss something? You were talking about Lozano being out long term. He was back training today.
training today, yes, but like Lozano's not he's not a spring chicken, and he's had injury concerns in the past, and we just watched them lose Lozano immediately for a month. And I think it's gonna happen at least one more time this season. Knock on wood, right? I don't want Lozano to get injured, but it it will probably happen again. So I don't know. My worries are on the attack. Ingvartsen's not the answer. Just my 2 cents on that one. Ingvartsen's not going to give you what you want for that team. Having Lozano back will give them options, but I, I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be enough to put them over the edge where they start getting the goals that they need. Like I've got questions about production. Look, I don't think they're going to lose, but they're missing that piece. And the more I see it, the more I'm like, ugh, need to fix that.
I think that you're starting to sweat if you viewed them as a high end playoff team. but this was an expansion team. So it kind of makes me wonder, what were your expectations for them? Because so
I
far, to me, they have overperformed expectations.
I expected them to be a more offensive threat than this, is what I would say. Like, as a possession team, they're creating the chances that I expected of them, but I expected them to finish much more consistently than what they're doing right now. And I mean, again, like they had a clear identity going in, which is a big thing for me right now. Is like, do teams have a clear identity and idea of how they want to play? Check that box off for San Diego. They have great talent in Dreyer, in Lozano. Ingvartsen, I could have been talked into, and I'm now falling, very quickly out of love with. I just I expected more goals than this from them, and I don't know if that changes anytime soon based on what they have on and off the field available to them.
I am personally a Michael Bublé category for them. I did not expect them to be near as good as they were here, and then uh, and they've not only have they been as good they have, but they've done it while playing more games without their best player than with. So this is a team that right now sits fourth in the Western Conference, and they have scored more goals than they have let up. If you would have offered that to any expansion team going into the year, any one of them would absolutely take it. And this was a team that also don't forget, a month before the season, we were all like, do they know that like the season starts in a month? Like, they kind of need to
Whoa,
fill
whoa,
this
whoa, whoa.
roster out. Like they need to do something.
What's this we?
But
I
anyway, yeah, that's where I am. I guess I didn't have New Year's high expectations, but
I love that we're flipping on this one, and it comes from how high we were on this team prior to the season kicking off.
I was thinking the same thing. It's reality of what's happened versus expectations heading in, since this is a brand new team. I was also thinking Michael Bublé, and I thought that's exactly where you were going, Russell. For me, they were like
Mm-mm.
they were the perfect Michael Bublé team for this tier maker. I think that's exactly where they should fit.
Fascinating. Well, I'm moving them up there based on the consensus, but I expected a lot more of them. Is my justification on that, and I hope they figure out the scoring, because if they do, they're going to be like a locked in home playoff team, I think, which would be super impressive for an expansion team. Uh, well, let's see. It goes to Gavin, even though Beau made me choose. So Beau, I'm going to give you mine, but we're going to stay with Gavin for now to talk about the Quakes.
Hmm. San Jose Earthquakes. It's been a rough last couple of weeks for the Earthquakes. It might even be starting to sweat. I might even have them that low. Started off strong, and they've been. Look, they haven't been as bad as they were last season, right? But it hasn't been great these last few weeks. So for me, I'm a little concerned at the way the last three games have gone.
yeah, as a guy who I think I had them second, I am really in my preseason. I'm really not feeling super great about that. Um, I am starting to sweat for sure on them. They just don't look amazing whenever they don't have the ball. This past weekend, but I, yeah, I think that there's quality there, and I believe in Bruce Arena. He has an amazing track record, but I'm starting to sweat a little bit. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, no disagreements there at all. I Nothing further to add. Beau, now I'm giving you mine. You get the joy, the privilege of slamming Sporting Kansas City into the clearest category imaginable. Where would you like to place them?
You're on mute, Bo.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the rock bottom. Is there something beneath Panic at the Disco? or is that
Let me see if I could make one just for Sporting
okay?
Just
Kansas
make
City.
one called Sporting
Sporting
Kansas
case.
City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually
They
exactly
are
what I'm thinking.
going back into last season. They are now 12 winless. They haven't won a game in 12 games. Yeah, I don't know. And then looking at this, I don't know what they're going to do or change. I genuinely don't. It's tough to watch. They went out, they spent money. They have, I mean, statistically speaking, William Agata was a top 5 striker in the league last year, and he's just sitting on the bench. So I don't know. And even trying to say, how do I say this? Talking with players on Kansas City, there has even been a little bit of confusion as to there's almost like some weird anti-William Agata stuff going on, going back into last season a little bit. I know there were some. This is I'm trying to figure out because I'm not trying to like say anything like out anything or anyone, because it's not like it was a casual conversation. It was not on the record, but there was confusion as to that in his contract, why it hasn't been picked up, blah blah blah. So that's something that, like I said, I was talking to you guys beforehand. I feel like he'd be great at Real Salt Lake or something. But anyway, yeah, their Sporting Kansas City have gone on way too long for what they actually deserve.
You know what, Beau? No, I think you're right. They deserved their own category, and they got it even further below than hitting the panic at the disco button. So they are a category of their own.
Because
Sporting Kansas City.
we're not hitting the panic button. That was a long time ago. The button's been broken from us just banging it over and over and over. So, yeah,
the button has been pounded into small dust that not even an industrial grade filter is managing to filter out at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what you do when there's an obvious issue with who is leading the team, and there's just an absolute. It's not even a willingness. They just refuse to move on. They refuse to move into. I mean, MLS is not like we're several iterations and generations past what Peter Vermees is still playing in. And so I don't know what you do with a team that is just literally stuck in the past. I don't know what you do. I don't know where the hope is.
There is no hope.
In the words of the great prophet Ted Lasso, it's the hope that kills you.
Yeah, it's something like that. We got 4 left, so I'm gonna say it's me just because that way we can end on the right number. So I'm giving myself Seattle, and for once, I think this might be the first one I'm putting in here. I'm gonna put Seattle in the neutral planet. I think Seattle has had some horrific luck with injuries and availability and prioritization of CONCACAF Champions Cup over the league, and I know just so little about what they're going to look like this year, and they may not look anywhere near as good as they could have been just because of the players that are going to be out long term. So I'm putting them in the neutral world because making any judgment right now just doesn't feel fair to me.
I think that's right. I think neutral is where they belong. I think CONCACAF Champions Cup has played a big role in their MLS struggles, and we all know how Brian Schmetzer prioritizes those competitions. So I think neutral for now, and we'll see how they progress over the next few weeks.
All right.
Yeah, 100%. I think that they are. You know what? Hold on. Let me. I'm starting to sweat. I'm gonna say it.
Oh.
But okay, in reality, I'm not too much, but at the same time, the reason why I'm sweating is twofold. They went out and they added a bunch of depth, right? Like that was the thing. They added MLS proven, known quantity depth. They didn't go outside of the league. It was like these guys know the league and they do it so that playing in these multiple competitions, playing in the league wouldn't suffer. And it suffered. It just has. I mean, LAFC is playing the exact same competitions they are, and they're doing a lot better with less players. So, in, but this is also typical Brian Schmetzer of not super hot going into the season, and then starts to kick into gear about a third of the way in, and then going into MLS playoffs, they are kicking butts and taking names. So, in reality, if I just look at Seattle right now, where they are in the standings, I would be sweating. But looking at Brian Schmetzer, looking at it as a whole, I'm not sweating. So I guess it's kind of a weird amalgamation of that, if that makes any sense. I also
It
just wanted to
does.
work amalgamation into this conversation so I could check that one off the bingo card.
I considered starting to sweat for them. I just think, with the caveats, I've got them in neutral, but I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility for you to want them in there.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to put them in starting to sweat, but just the the reality of what they have dealt with outside of the league just makes me think, you know what? I don't know if I can fully attribute that to league performances. And they did sign a bunch of depth, though, to your point. So, like, I don't think their floor is super low. I don't think their ceiling is also super high right now. All right, Beau, last one for you. St. Louis City. You could throw a dart at the tier maker, and St. Louis City would probably belong there no matter where you hit.
It's pretty clear to me. I'm starting to sweat with St. Louis City. I know that they're sitting in fifth in the Western Conference, and you look at that. But through 5 games, they've only scored in 2 games, and I have not checked this, however, but reading Matt Doyle's post this last weekend, apparently this tracks with Olaf Molberg's tenure over in Europe as well. His teams just do not score a lot of goals. They are very heavily defensive and stuff. And so I look at this, and this is the question I've had all year long with that is, how is this team going to score goals, and are they going to do it enough? And I think the answer is no.
I don't disagree with you at all. And I think depending on how negative you feel about their goal scoring ability, you could sit anywhere from neutral to getting ready to hit the panic button. And I think straddling that and putting it in sweat is probably the happy compromise right now, but I am very nervous for them. I might fall more on the panic side, but I'm not fully there and ready to commit just yet. But I'm eyeing it. I'm eyeing it very, very nervously.
Yeah, I think starting to sweat is appropriate. I don't think the performances justify the results.
All right. Gavin, speaking of performances that justify the results, Toronto FC.
Sporting Kansas City.
That's exactly what I was going to say, man. I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
That I love that this is a category, and yet it's equally funny to me that a second team has managed to break into it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They're just as much as a mess. In case you guys didn't see it, Lorenzo Insigne started on the weekend. So after being told that you will not play for us if you stay, the club have turned their back on that ultimatum because they realize that they need attacking talent. And then he came in and played terrible, like he has been. So not terrible, he just didn't do much. So
It's almost like
yeah,
he
I
hasn't been
think
playing or practicing for several months.
crazy. Yeah, and they're just a dumpster fire, same as SKC, and nothing seems to go right at that club at the moment. So yeah, I think they are past the panic button, unfortunately.
I love it. I have no disagreements at all. And it's mainly just because of how much I love placing them in a category named after another team.
Yeah, and it's not just Insigne; it's the whole entire team. It's the tactics. It's everything. But I was just
Yeah, it's
calling out that
the front the
funny thing.
front office, the process,
Or the
yeah.
roster. I mean, let's just look at this roster. I mean, this is not a team that should. You look at this roster and you go, yeah, this team isn't even sniffing the playoffs.
Which team's losing to a U12 team first? Sporting Kansas City or Toronto?
I think Bernadeschi, I wouldn't put it past him to mow down 12-year-olds to get the ball. So, yeah.
That's KC.
Okay. Last one here on our very long list, Vancouver Whitecaps, and I think despite losing to Chicago, I'm actually going to put them in the Michael Bublé category because I think they are overperforming expectations. They look way better than we expected. And maybe even cooler than being cool. I might be able to be talked into that because if I recall correctly, they did knock out Monterrey in Champions. You know what? No, I'm moving them up. Just knocking out Monterrey gets to go up a whole tier. They're now cooler than being cool,
And then
even
turning
though they did
around
lose to the Fire.
and winning on the road. And they lost to the Fire without, I want to say,
Brian White, Ryan Gulls,
Brian White,
Andres
and Ryan
Kubas, right?
Gold. And I think Vite was out too. Is that right or no? Was he there
Yeah,
this
those are all
weekend?
Think
big
so.
misses.
I think Vite and Kubas were gone, weren't they?
I think so. I'll check real quick.
No. All right, I feel much better hearing that that Vite and Kubas were gone. I
Yeah.
put a lot less stock in that loss now.
The midfield, it was Rios, Nelson, and McKenzie up top, Berhalter, Priso, and Ngondo in the midfield. Like they were missing their starting front five, basically front five, front six, except for maybe Nelson.
Yeah, I'm glad you put Vancouver up there. If not, I was gonna drive up to Cincinnati and bang on your house at probably 4 a.m. the next morning because I'm not sure that I'd be able to get there in time. But I was gonna be very upset.
If you could just do that during business hours, I would open the door for you starting at 9 a.m.
Hating Vancouver on like that is not worth. It's not worth getting a business hours knock. That's a nice 3 a.m. knock, my friend.
I mean, well, I'll probably be awake for it because the cat's probably gonna just jump up and shout at my face like 10 minutes before that anyway. So I'll have already been woken up. So
Cats are
why not? I'll put
sociopaths.
coffee on. Yeah, correct. This one is giving me the ultimate cat test right now. He's laying on his back, showing me his stomach. But here's the thing: it's not an invitation; it's a test.
I learned something tonight.
You could learn a lot of things by trying to pet a cat's stomach. Usually, the feeling is, what do claws and teeth feel like? But Gavin, any final disagreements there?
No. That's the bright spot for them.
All right, cool. Well, that is our wonderful tier maker. I'm gonna screenshot it so that we can throw that on social media for anyone who wants to see where our final list shook out.
Looks good. I think it looks good. I don't think anyone will
Yeah.
disagree with us at all.
No, it is a factual list in nature. So there we go. That's that. Gavin, you do have a very medium length activity, I believe.
It'll probably be quick. I think it'll be fun to do a quick look at the new DPs to the league and just do another tier maker. I decided to put it in tier maker format, so we'll do that.
All right. Now it's your turn to share a screen.
Yeah,
Now for tier
let me do
maker.
that. Oh Lord, I have Frozen.
Like the movie,
Like yeah, it was like
the vegetables,
let it go.
Like my
Yeah, have
screen
you-
has Frozen.
have you-
There it goes. Okay, there we go.
Mhm.
Okay, so our tiers are: I'm impressed. He's been
Okay.
okay, I guess.
I impressed. I'm Russell.
I've got growing concerns and injured or not enough information. First one, let's just put him in there. Not enough info for Herving Lozano.
Yeah, we
Right.
could just call it the Irving Lozano category.
Yeah.
And of course, I get a
That's-
chat from work, like literally as I start sharing screen.
Oh, love that.
Love that. Okay, okay, let's stick with San Diego. Anders Dreyer. Beau, go to you.
I'm impressed. Guy's been quality, like potential all-star level quality.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend too much time on that, Russell.
Yeah, very impressed by
Yeah.
him.
David Da Costa. Russell.
Uh, personally, eh. I'm not gonna say I have growing concerns, but like I've not been super impressed.
Okay, well, I guess
I'm
something's
I'm
going
very
on at
much
work.
I'm very much in Acosta. I don't think I've seen enough. The guy, yeah, without the spring training or whatever preseason training, everything like that, being able to kind of seamlessly go in. I don't think we've got enough info,
Yeah,
but that's me.
I don't know. I haven't been like from the times that I've watched him, I've been like his set piece delivery is not that good. And granted, I know that's probably not why they brought him in, but also they brought him in to replace Evander, who had great set piece delivery. So like probably you would hope for good set piece delivery from him. So it's I don't know. I think that's a good caveat. Like he's not been with the team for a super long time, so maybe he's still figuring it out, and learning. I could be talked into not enough information.
Not enough information.
Yeah,
I mean, he's played most of their games, but okay. Well, we'll put him there. We'll put him there. Damiani for Philadelphia. He started his first game this past weekend,
yeah.
and other than that, he's been coming off the bench, and he's just kind of been okay.
I feel like starting his first game means not enough information.
Here, here.
Choupo-Moting.
We said his name a lot going into the season, and I think we picked him in a Golden Boot draft on
Did,
someone's team.
did we
And
really?
I thought we did. And now I don't think I've said his name even one time. So
I definitely have. I'm gonna go with he's been okay because I think he has been okay. He's had games where he's been he's been had games where he's been pretty good. So I'm gonna put him in the middle tier.
yeah, like I don't have negative opinions on him, so I wouldn't put him in growing concerns, but
Yeah,
I also don't have positive opinions about him. So
Yeah, like the first word that comes to my mind with Chupamoteng is meh.
yeah, meh.
so that's where we'll put him. Yeah,
Can you just rename the he's been okay to meh?
yeah. We'll do that. Just
Yeah,
meh,
I feel like that's more adequate.
meh. Sengi's Under.
Personally, not enough information. He was brought in a little bit later for LAFC. I'd
Yeah,
like to maybe get 2 or 3 more games of watching on him personally.
Yeah, that's very much my thing. I think he has the quality for sure to go to the I'm impressed category, and I have a feeling if we do this again in 5 weeks, he'll fall there. But I personally, with the games I've watched, I don't feel like I have seen enough of him to give a meaningful opinion one way or the other.
Beau, sticking with you. Manu Garcia.
Meh. Believe it or not, Sporting Kansas City suck, but he hasn't been. You see the bright spots. You see the like, okay, like yeah, I I see what they saw. Even though the team and system sucks, you get little moments of things that make you go, okay, but it's not like, ooh, did you see that? Like with Dryer, he's not carrying a team, so meh.
I think that's fair. Marco Pasalic. I know where I'd put him. Russell, where do you have him?
Gavin, where would you put him? Because I don't watch any Orlando City
Oh
at
yeah, that's
all.
right. That's right.
I couldn't tell you anything at all about this player. I didn't even know he was signed for you.
Okay. Uh, I've been impressed. I've been really impressed. One of the things that people have heard me complain about with Facu Torres is he will never take on his man. He'll get the ball, he'll pass it back. What kind of DP winger doesn't even go when he's 1v1 with the defender, won't even take him on? Paslich will take on his man. He'll cut inside. He's creative, like he can put in a good pass. He's got a great shot on him. I've been really impressed with him. Bo, any disagreements there?
No, but I do want to ask you, do you think that moving from him to Facu Torres maybe could have some bearing as to why they've been so much better offensively, but yet worse defensively? Because it seems like Facu Torres was actually fairly responsible tracking back defensively, and I haven't watched. I don't think I've watched any more than one
Yeah.
Orlando game this year to know.
I wouldn't put it solely on Pasalic. I agree that Facu Torres was more diligent defensively, but I think it's just been more of a team wise where we lost Cartagena in midfield. I think that's been the bigger loss versus Facu Torres um, on the wing there. Kevin Denke, Russell.
This is one where I wish we had a middle category between impressed and meh, because Denki has definitely not had the level of service that I think you would expect from this type of player, and yet everything else he's doing looks really good. Like, he's got a ton of shot creating actions, he draws players really well, he's got a good off the ball work rate, like, he's doing everything that you would expect. It's just, is it as flashy as Dryer? No, but I think Dryer is in a system that suits him better right now, but also, like, as a result, I can't put Denki into I'm impressed, but, like, I'm not gonna put him into meh because he's better than all the guys who are in meh.
I've been impressed by him just because of that non-goal scoring action work.
Same here.
I think he's
I
been
think
good.
I think you said it wonderfully, Russell.
Yep. Okay. Wilfred Zaha.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, I started off as a little bit of meh, but I think similar to Denki, he's starting to grow on me, and that, like, I'm seeing him do some off the ball things. He's not the I think if we thought he was going to be this pure goal scoring, high octane player coming in, I think that's not what it is. But he brings more than just that to Charlotte, and they look better for it.
Yeah, I mean he's probably already maybe single handedly won them games this year. So I think that alone probably qualifies him for that. But I guess that's a pretty low bar for some players.
And he just got an overlapping left back, so we're going to see how he does with that. He played well
Huzzah!
in this. Yeah, he did well in his first game. Mirto Uzuni for Austin. I was high on him coming in, but I'm going to take this one. I've got growing concerns.
Yeah, I
He,
think that's fair.
I don't think he scored yet. He's not like the most creative from what I've seen. He's more of a goal scoring threat, and he's missing the target when he gets his chances, and he's not really offering much outside of that, getting those chances. So for me, I've got growing concerns about Uzuni and Austin. Hopefully, it's just first 5 games, and he's just having a slow start.
Took the words right out of my mouth. That
Very
was
fair.
beautifully said.
Latte Loth, Russell.
Uh, I mean, he's looked good in front of goal, and he looks like he's one of the fastest players in the league, which everyone said he was going to be. So I I guess I'm sitting more towards impressed than meh right now. I think that he's kind of been a casualty of, well, Atlanta has so many big name players that I feel like once you see all that, your expectations are he's going to score every single match all the time, and I don't think that's a realistic expectation. I think he's doing about as well as one could expect of any given player on a team of 11 guys.
Beau, any differences with that?
Not
Yeah,
at all. I think
I think that's fair.
he kind of sits in between me and I'm impressed, but more of him is leaning to the I'm impressed than me.
And Beau, I left you your boy Jonathan Bamba.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Anybody who says differently, reach out to me on MLS Gaming on Blue Sky. I will arrange a time and place to meet and fight you for his honor.
He will knock on your door at 3 in the morning.
So I think I got them all. These are all the new DPs to MLS, and it looks like teams are hitting for the most part. So I think that's pretty impressive.
You know, I think though, in hindsight, with what you said with DaCosta, he has played most of their games. You know, the more we were kind of going, the more like, man, I may have some growing concerns a little bit on him. I think you might have been right, Gavin.
I'm happy to move him there because I was thinking I don't know about DaCosta, but they both said not enough, so I'll go with the pack. But yeah, I'm happy to move him there.
Any just for anyone here, is there any person that you look at a category and you personally think, wow, that one's wrong?
Nah.
No, no, I think we
I
hit it nail on the head.
I think Lozano is going to be an interesting one to assess, and I think it's going to be extra interesting how that impacts Dreyer, because prior to Lozano getting injured, San Diego loved to build through Lozano, and to the point that like they were almost ignoring Dreyer as a threat. Now Lozano being out, Dreyer's gotten a lot more of the attention, and we've seen a lot of the good parts of Dreyer. But I'm curious if the second Lozano, really hits his stride again, if they start to say, "Oh, we're just gonna go back to play through Lozano and, see what Dreyer does." So I'll be curious what the next few weeks look like there.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it should happen, but you could make a case for Lozano with the I've got growing concerns because of his injury history and his getting injured right off the bat. I mean, MLS is a more physical league than Italy, where he played. Italy's much more of a technical league, and so with his injury history and stuff, if he gets injured pretty, again soon early on, then I think you could make a case for the I've got growing concerns based on that.
I would maybe even make his own category at that point if the injuries keep going.
We'll do that in the future,
Him and Gio Reyna could have their own category together. Glass hamstring.
Right. You make it the meme of the guy in SpongeBob where he's like, every day I wake up and I, break all my bones and my skin falls apart and I cry myself to sleep and, the pain of something or other. I don't know. I'll go look up that bit. SpongeBob's got like a moment for everything, I swear. All right, very cool. Well, guys, I had a lot of fun doing this. Gavin, when I talked to you earlier tonight, we said we were not going to do a 2-hour recording. I will point your attention to the top of this timestamp on the recording where it says 2 hours. We, in fact, did another 2-hour recording, so good work, us. But anyways, thank you as always to the listeners who continue to listen to these obscenely long recordings, longer than what we intended. So just a reminder, if you want to follow us on social media, you can find MLS Now Podcast on most social media right under the podcast handle. You can find Beau on Blue Sky at MLS Gamut. You can find Gavin Twitter, X at Lions Blog. I don't, Gavin, thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you have a Blue Sky anywhere else?
Blue Sky and Twitter is where you can find me.
There you go. You can find him at Lions Blog 1. And you can find me on almost all social media at Mr. Danger Russ. Beau, Gavin, listeners, everyone, me, my dad. Hey, we'll see y'all next time.
See y'all next time.
Toodles.